Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Navigating College Admissions for Student Athletes. I'm Danielle Kinney. I am one of the college admissions consultants here at College Hive. We are located in the Bay Area in California, but we work with students from across the United States. Today, we'll be talking about the college admissions process as it relates to student athletes. Before we jump in, I do want to let you know that this will be recorded and available on our YouTube channel in case you miss any part of the discussion today. So, before we get into the admissions process, let's talk about athletics at the college level. When talking with student athletes about college options, it's important to understand the key differences between athletic divisions, both in terms of competition and academic balance. NCAA Division I. This is the largest and most competitive athletic program. Students here often make a significant time commitment in terms of practices, games, and travel, and it can feel like a full-time job. In return, Division I schools can offer the most athletic scholarship funding ranging from partial to full rides. NCAA Division II schools provide more balance between athletics and academics. The competition is still strong, but students typically have more time for coursework or campus involvement. Scholarships are usually partial, helping offset tuition costs without covering everything. At the Division III level, there are no athletic scholarships. However, these schools emphasize academics and overall student experience. Coaches still recruit talented athletes, but the focus is on flexibility and personal development rather than as athletics as a primary identity. NAIA includes smaller, often private colleges and still maintains a competitive athletic environment. These schools do offer athletic scholarships, and the community atmosphere can feel more personal than the larger NCAA institutions. Finally, the NJCAA represents two-year community colleges. These programs can be a great stepping stone for athletes who want to improve academically or athletically before transferring into a four-year NCAA or NAIA school. Many offer athletic scholarships and can serve as a pathway to higher levels of competition. Understanding these divisions helps students find the school that fits their goals, not just athletically, but academically and personally as well. Division I includes about 350 schools, roughly a third of all NCAA institutions. These are typically large universities with a median undergraduate enrollment of 8,000 students. Only about 1 in every 23 students is an athlete, which shows how competitive it is to earn a roster spot. Each school averages 19 athletic teams, and Division I accounts for 38% of all NCAA student athletes. Most notably, these programs can offer multi-year cost of attendance athletic scholarships, and about 57% of athletes receive some form of athletic aid. Division II features about 300 schools, or 28% of the NCAA. These are mid-sized institutions with a median enrollment of about 2,300 students. Here, athletics are a bigger part of campus life. About 1 in 9 students compete as a college athlete. Schools typically sponsor about 16 teams, and 25% of all NCAA athletes play at this level. Division II uses a partial scholarship model, meaning aid is often divided among players. Still, 60% of athletes receive some form of athletic aid. Division III is the largest with over 430 schools, making up 40% of the NCAA. These are smaller institutions with a median enrollment of about 1,600 students and a much higher proportion of athletes, 1 in 6 students. They also average around 19 teams per school, representing 37% of all NCAA athletes. Importantly, Division III schools do not offer athletic scholarships, but 80% of athletes receive non-athletic aid, such as academic or need-based scholarships. So while D1 schools often offer the biggest programs and scholarships, D2 and D3 schools provide strong athletic experiences with different balances between academics, competition, and financial aid. This slide gives an overview of participation across the NCAA, both in terms of how many athletes compete and the wide range of sports offered for men and women. So this slide just shows you a breakdown of sports by gender. These programs show how diverse the NCAA's athletic landscape is, giving students a wide range of ways to stay active and compete and represent their school. The recruiting process looks a little different across each athletic division, and it's important for student athletes and families to understand when and how coaches are allowed to reach out. NCAA D1 has the most structured and restrictive recruiting rules. Coaches can start full communication, such as phone calls, emails, and text, either on June 15th after the student's sophomore year or on September 1st of their junior year, depending on the sport. Official visits, meaning school-funded visits, can begin August 1st before the student's junior year. These rules are designed to give students time to focus on academics and early high school experiences before the recruiting process ramps up. D2 schools offer a little bit more flexibility. Coaches can begin off-campus contact and official visits starting June 5th after sophomore year. This means D2 athletes often begin forming relationships with coaches earlier, which can make for a more personalized recruitment experience. D3 recruiting is the most flexible at all. Coaches can contact students at any time, though official visits typically begin January 1st of the student's junior year. The focus here is on finding a strong academic and personal fit rather than athletics driving the process. For NAIA and NJCAA, recruiting is less heavily regulated. Coaches often recruit based on academic readiness and athletic performance and team needs, and the process can be much more informal. This can make it easier for late blooming athletes or transfer students to find opportunities. So understanding these timelines helps student athletes stay proactive, reaching out to coaches, preparing highlight reels, and keeping their academic and athletic profiles strong. This shows you an exact breakdown of the recruiting calendar by sport and division. You will notice that D3, NAIA, and NJCAA schools do not have any rules regarding communication. The recruitment process for student athletes typically unfolds in several key stages, from initial contact to final decision. Understanding each step helps families stay organized and realistic about what to expect. The process usually begins when coaches identify potential recruits based on performance, stats, highlight videos, or recommendations from club or high school coaches. At the same time, students can also take initiative, reaching out to programs that interest them, sending athletic resumes, and attending camps or showcases to get noticed. This early stage is all about building visibility and relationships. Once a student decides to pursue college athletics, it's important to register with the NCAA Eligibility Center. This verifies academic eligibility and amateur status, both required for participation in D1 and 2. Even if the student is unsure of division level, registering early, typically during sophomore or junior year, helps avoid last-minute issues. As contact becomes permissible, depending on division rules, coaches begin reaching out directly through emails, calls, or social media. They'll evaluate athletes through game films, stats, and in-person scouting. This stage can be competitive, and students should keep coaches updated on academic progress, standardized test scores, and athletic milestones. When mutual interest grows, a student may visit campus either through an official or unofficial visit. Official visits are funded by the college and have strict NCAA rules. Unofficial visits are paid for by the family and can happen more freely. These visits are crucial for assessing team culture, academic environment, and overall fit on and off the field. Finally, if a coach decides a student is a good fit, they may extend a verbal or written offer. Students should compare offers carefully, considering scholarship terms, academic programs, and overall campus life. Once a student makes their choice, they'll sign a national letter of intent, or an NLI, or commit to a school formally. Ultimately, successful recruitment isn't just about athletic ability, it's about preparation, communication, and finding the right balance between athletics, academics, and personal growth. When it comes to college athletics, understanding how scholarships work across divisions is key because the level of financial support can vary widely. D1 schools often offer full or partial athletic scholarships depending on the sport and the program's budget. These scholarships can cover tuition, housing, meals, and other expenses, making D1 the level where athletic aid can have the biggest financial impact. At the D2 and NAIA levels, scholarships are typically partial, meaning the financial aid is divided among team members. For example, a coach might have a limited scholarship budget to spread across multiple athletes. Even so, both divisions still provide meaningful support for student athletes. In fact, the NAIA alone awards about $1.3 billion in athletic scholarships every year. D3 schools, on the other hand, do not offer athletic scholarships. Instead, they focus on academic merit aid and need-based institutional aid, so students can still receive generous financial packages, but not for athletic participation specifically. Across the NCAA Divisions I and II together provide about $2.7 billion in athletic scholarships annually. That's a huge investment in college athletes, but it also highlights why it's important to understand where those funds come from and how they differ by division. So while scholarships can open doors, students should always look at the full financial picture, including academic aid, grants, and long-term affordability when choosing a school. But please note that the odds of earning an athletic scholarship are quite competitive. Only about 2% of high school athletes receive any form of athletic aid to play at the college level. So most of that aid is going to come from institutional merit aid. While athletic scholarships are often the most talked about, they're just one part of the overall financial aid picture for student athletes. Most students, even those on teams, use a combination of aid types to make college affordable. Athletic scholarships are awarded based on athletic ability and team needs. As I mentioned, D1 and 2 schools, as well as NAIA and some junior colleges, can offer athletic scholarships. They may be full or partial depending on the sport. Renewal each year usually depends on performance, eligibility, and conduct, so students should understand those terms clearly. Academic scholarships are awarded for strong grades and test scores and can earn students merit-based awards regardless of their athletic participation. Many student athletes stack academic aid on top of partial athletic scholarships. This can be especially valuable at D3 schools where no academic athletic aid is offered. Need-based financial aid. This comes from completing the FAFSA or CSS profile and is based on the family's financial situation. We have a separate webinar series about financial aid that you can find on our YouTube channel. Need-based aid can include grants, work study, and subsidized loans. Even scholarship athletes should file these forms as they may qualify for additional need-based support. Colleges often have their own internal scholarships or endowments called institutional aid, sometimes tied to academic majors or leadership or community service. Coaches and financial aid offices can guide students to these opportunities. External and private scholarships are also an option. Students can apply for outside scholarships from local organizations, community groups, and national foundations. These awards can be combined with institutional aid to reduce costs further. Ultimately, very few athletes have their entire education paid for through sports alone, but rather it's a combination of athletic, academic, and need-based aid that will create the strongest financial package to support them. A few more additional considerations. Academic and athletic balance is a major consideration for student athletes. The amount of time they spend at practice and training, on the road, at games, can affect the amount of time they have for coursework. You'll see at the bottom the average time spent per week for NCAA athletes. They are spending almost as much time on academics as they are athletics. Another thing to consider are school size and campus fit, meaning the larger D1 schools versus smaller D3 schools. Support systems, meaning tutoring and athletic advisors and mental health resources specifically for student athletes. So these are just a few additional things to consider. So before we end today's session, there are a couple of questions in the chat that I would like to respond to. First, do athletes have a higher chance of getting accepted? So, simply being an athlete does not increase your chances. The admissions boost only applies if a coach is actively recruiting the student. So, when a coach supports or endorses a recruit, admission knows that the team needs that athlete. So, they will ask the admissions department for what's called a pre read. They will send the admissions department test scores, transcripts, basically a unfinished application for the admissions department to either give the coach a green light or red light, meaning yes, we would accept this student, or no, we would not. The supported athletes, meaning the ones that are recruited, are admitted at much higher rates, especially at selective schools. But remember, this only applies to recruited athletes, not students hoping to walk on. Students still need to meet the college academic requirements, and coaches only get a limited number of spots for each year. So, yes, being a recruited athlete can make a major difference, but only when there's real interest from the coach and solid academics. So another question we have here, what GPA do student athletes need for college admissions? There's going to be a big difference between NCAA eligibility and actual admission standards. The NCAA minimums might qualify a student to compete, but they won't automatically get the student into that specific college. Each school has its own academic expectations, and coaches want athletes who can be admitted without any issue. Highly selective schools like Ivy League, Stanford, Duke, they typically want GPAs between 3.7 and 4.0. Those are unweighted GPAs. Mid-range D1, D2, and D3 schools often look for somewhere between 3.0 and 3.5. It's really going to depend on the school and the program, but the bottom line is the stronger the GPA, the more options and leverage you'll have as a student athlete. Last question I will take. How important are highlight videos and performance stats? Highlight videos and verified stats are extremely important, and it's often the coach's first impression of the athlete. Coaches can't watch everyone in person. So videos are how they're going to quickly evaluate talent. And a strong highlight reel can open the door for real conversations or camp invitations or a campus visit, an official or unofficial visit. It matters for some sports more than others. So for sports like soccer, basketball, volleyball, lacrosse, baseball, and hockey, video is critical. For sports like track, cross country, swimming, rowing, the stats are more key and less so on video. Football and other team sports will rely on both stats and video. So, what coaches are looking for in video, first, they want to see clear footage. They want to be able to see actually things like footwork or stick skills. They want to see high quality plays, proper labeling. So, indicate which number you are and make sure your number is in view the entire time so that it's clear that it's you, and verified stats. It does not need to be professionally edited or anything like that. It just needs to be clear and accurate, more than a fancy production. But they are very important. And we do have on our website, if you go to college-hive.com, in our student athlete section, we do have a list of types of videos you should submit. So it's not only game footage, but it might be footage from practices where the camera can be closer and it can show things like footwork if you're playing soccer, or stick skills in field hockey and lacrosse. So don't only include game footage, that's very important, but do think about including other kinds of footage as well. So that was the last question for this session. We have a series of videos regarding a lot of different topics, not just for student athletes, about SAT and ACT, financial aid, writing college essays, just a whole host of different types of topics. So if you are interested, check out our YouTube channel where we'll be posting them. This is part of a larger video series, so they will all be available. And of course, if you want to reach out to us, go to college-hive.com and reach out to us there. We'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.